One of the nice things that you can do with Google Tools is to create a formative assessment using Google Forms. And one of the great things that they've done with Google Forms in recent years is create a self-grading quiz function. So Google Forms can be found by going to your Drive and simply clicking New, rolling over until you find the More. We're going to come back to that caret in just a second, but you can simply click Google Forms. It brings you into an untitled form, and you can type multiple choice questions, you can do checkboxes, drop downs, short answers, paragraphs, all sorts of things. And you can use this to create surveys. You can send links out. Pretty simple, straightforward, things that I'll show in a separate video. However, one of the nice things they've done in recent years is if I roll over and hit the caret, I can do a form from a template. If I hit from a template, in the general category, the very first one that pops up is a blank quiz. So when I select the blank quiz, I can name this here, whatever I might want to name it, quiz number 2. But what's really nice is they have already preloaded the fact that I can do multiple choice. I can do any of the same options, but they have an answer key function. So let's say I have, as I have over my other tab here, something already created in a doc form that I want to move over here. So I can simply, what was the original name of the Silk Road, and I can start putting in my answers. The Salt Road, the Darien Journey, the Holy Path, and the Persian Royal Road. And if I go into answer key now, what I can do is toggle the amount of points I want this question to be worth, and then choose what the correct answer is. Once I've done that, I can go back to my edit question mode. If there's anything I had to fix, you'll notice that the check mark pops up now. And I can actually go through and continue to add my questions and create. One of the things I want to make sure I do is make this a required question so that the student has to fill that out, and then go on to create the rest of my quiz. Now, the other nice thing is right from the start, if I want, I can simply put in a short answer and say name or student number or whatever might be necessary for me to know what's going on. It keeps track of my total points for my quiz here. And once students have responded, I can even go to my responses. What's really great in the responses is once the students have responded, I can click on this right here and it will create a spreadsheet right out of those responses with the same name, in this case, quiz number 2. And if I click up here, I can rename it up here, quiz number 2. And it will create that spreadsheet called quiz number 2 responses. And so I can have all of my scores for the students in the same place. When I come to the end of my quiz, I hit my settings button here. In our case, we're going to restrict it to simply students who are logged in, for instance, on a Chromebook, and I will limit that to 1 response and not allow them to edit it after submission. If I slide over to the quiz, it's already made a quiz. I can choose one of 2 options here. I can either immediately release the grade. Google will simply say whether or not the student clicked on the correct answer or not and receive it and give them a score back. Or if I'm going to include short answer questions, which I'll show in just a moment, I can click on later after manual review, and you can decide when the student gets the answers back what you're going to let them see. If I save that right now, let's say I go down to this question here, and I was going to ask what was the most important thing about the Silk Road? And I want the student to write a paragraph. You see how Google just decided that that's probably a paragraph question. I can click required and I can change my point value. Maybe I want to do it on a rubric of 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever I might want to do. I can even add answer feedback if I want to give the students any sort of feedback. But what will happen now is when I start receiving responses, I will be able to toggle that grade 0 through 4 once I've read what the student typed. And so basically you have to make a choice. Do you want to have a fully multiple choice test, in which case Google can, again, they can immediately release that submission right after the student submits it, it will self-grade and kick back a score immediately. Or if you'd like to read some of their responses, have something with a slightly longer format, you can simply do a manual review and send their grade to them when they're done. And that's the simple basics to creating quizzes. There are some other tools that you can do in Forms, and please check out my other videos to see what else you can do with Google Forms.